Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Hazy Ames here. I have a video I'm pretty excited about here. It's the gonna be going over Diablo 4 beta weekend. I had a blast playing it. I was also discouraged at times because of some server issues, but we will get into all that. I'm gonna try not to ramble as much as possible, but we all know that that doesn't work all the time necessarily, because I got a lot of information I'm going to try to get through. But first and foremost, I just got to get this out of the way. The connection issues, I mean, we pretty much expected them, as far as server queues getting disconnected while playing getting disconnected while playing the game and things like that. I think I had queue times of 117 minutes, 107 minutes, 47 minutes, in like 30 minutes or something like that, and I got disconnected probably 5 to 10 times in probably 20 hours of gameplay, I would say. So not terrible, but you would think that they would get the connection and server queues and those issues kind of resolved already, but I guess that's what the beta test is for. So connection issues were an issue. Moving on, as far as like visually, I think Diablo 4 looks great. The immersion of the environments you're in are great. If you're in like a old, nasty, dirty castle that's been abandoned for years, you feel like you're in that castle. Same with the outdoor environments. There's snow world, like the snow and the wind, and you feel like you're on a mountaintop battling skeletons or werewolves or rabid bears. And visually, the game just looks great. I mean, it looks great. Definitely cannot complain about the graphics. And I mean, surprisingly, even the music was surprisingly good. It just felt like it fit the game well. It was Diablo-esque. Um, During the fights, they would kind of ramp up the music, like the boss fights, they would ramp the music up, and it fit really well. It was really well done. The score was good. The music just fit where it should be, and it felt good. The story and the voice acting and dialogue I thought was pretty good, especially for like a Diablo game. Like, I didn't really feel like Diablo 1, Diablo 2, and even Diablo 3 were that great at the dialogue and storytelling. But in this one, like, I feel like they took their time a little bit on some of it. The dialogue isn't just, hey, you're a hero, go over to this spot and try to save this peasant from this demon, end of story. They kind of went in depth with each little side quest. Not all of them, but some of them they went into some nice depth, more so than your basic side quest of, hey, I need help finding firewood. Why don't you go do that? It was more in depth, and I liked that. And the voice acting was great. I felt like all the characters' voice acting was well done, very well done. There might have been an instance of maybe one or two characters where I didn't feel the voice fit very well. But yeah, the voice acting was very well done. The gameplay and mechanics, I was pretty impressed, I guess. I mean, for the most part, in other Diablo games, I'm used to that kind of. You get to the boss, and the boss is just like a big meat shield that just takes damage, and there's nothing really to it, and you can just stand there and hack away at him and kill him. Where in this, I feel like you actually had to use your evade spacebar or button if you were playing on controller. You actually had to use like maybe a defensive, and you had to use your potions, and there's instances where I was dying. I would have to like back away from the enemies and come with a different strategy at them. And I'm not saying it was like overly difficult, like super hard, like Dark Souls or anything like that, but I felt the difficulty was really, really well done. Granted, I didn't play any rogue, so rogue might have been super overpowered or what have you, but the barbarian and sorcerer felt really well as far as fighting the bosses and enemies. Things felt balanced. The boss fights were also good. Like you had to do different. You just didn't stand there and spam damage on the boss. You actually had to move around and press the evade button. The world boss was very good. I feel like the world boss, they did a good job with that. And when I say that, I primarily mean the difficulty felt really good. Like, it's a world boss. Like, I should get one-shotted or two-shotted. Granted, I did see a few barbarians that looked like they were just kind of standing in the damage and taking it. But, I mean, that is a melee character, so you would expect them to potentially be able to take maybe a lot of damage depending on what build they went with. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on Barbarian. I think I got to level 20, I think it was. I mean, I had a level 25 Sorcerer and a 20 Barbarian. And I had some good time in the game. And I just felt that the boss balance was pretty well done with at least the two characters that I played the game with. That kind of brings me, since we're kind of on the topic of characters, brings me to a point that I'm a little concerned about, and that is the PvP aspect of the game. I was never a huge PvP person in Diablo 1 or Diablo 2 at all. I messed around, like with my friends a little bit here and there with some Diablo 2 PvP, but never really got into that scene. But that's not to say that I wouldn't be interested in it. I hope that they do bring PvP to Diablo 4, but it makes you a little skeptical when in the beta it's nowhere to be seen. Like, there's not even a button for PvP. Like, even if it was in the game and you couldn't access it, there wasn't a button for it. So that's a little concerning. It might end up to be another Diablo 3 instance where they say that's going to be something they're going to implement later and it never happens. I hope that's not the case. They could do a lot of stuff with PvP, and I think it'd be a lot of fun if they could do it right. And things would just have to be balanced as much as you can and as fairly as you can. The other thing that I'm a little concerned about is legendary items just seemed like they were everywhere. Like, I felt like it would just rain legendary items, and maybe that's because that was the beta and they increased the drop rate of legendaries, but they were everywhere. I feel like every boss you're getting one or two legendaries. And I had a buddy who was finding legendaries just on basic, little peon mobs pretty frequently. So I'm worried that legendaries are not going to have a huge importance and impact if they're just falling from everywhere and being found from everything that you open and kill. And maybe you won't transfer over to the live game that way, but currently the way it sits, that could be a big issue. And not to mention that some of the legendaries, some of the properties the legendaries had, I was just like, that might make for an interesting build, but is someone really going to use that over, say, a yellow item that does 70 more DPS? I don't know. It makes me worried that the legendaries aren't going to feel as significant as they do in, say, like getting a unique in Diablo 2. Tell me what you think about the legendary and item system down in the comments, and we'll kind of see what kind of feedback we get here on that. Another concern is when I was playing the Barbarian, I tried to play a bleed build, and maybe that's just the way the build plays, but I felt like I was weak And when I say that, I felt like I was weak when I was fighting numerous enemies. But when I was fighting bosses or elites, my single target damage seemed like it was just crazy good against bosses. If I could get the boss to bleed, I get multiple bleeds, and just I could do crazy damage to the boss and kill him like crazy quick. Like it seems like it's a good single target build, boss killer build, maybe. But other than that, as far as killing a number of enemies that are around me, I felt like it was pretty weak. And I saw somebody else saying that they felt the Barbarian was weak too, but maybe that's just because I'm a noob at Barb. I don't know. As far as like replayability of this game, I mean, obviously it's an action RPG. There's multiple characters you can play. I mean, it has a great replayability. It has numerous side quests, numerous things to do within the game, numerous characters to play, numerous items to find, numerous builds. Replayability is just off the charts. This is getting a little rambly and long here. Try to get this. Feels like it's getting a little rambly here, so we'll try to get this finishing up here. But yeah, so the last little thing that I want to touch on is the news about all these bricked and killed 3080s, 3080 Ti's. I've even seen reports of a 3090 Ti, a 4080. Just people coming on these Blizzard forums saying that their graphics cards have been bricked. And a lot of them are gigabyte graphics cards. And I just think it's weird. We had the incident with New World, and they were bricking graphics cards. I mean, my personal experience, I have a Founders Edition 3080 Ti, and I was playing in 1440p max settings. I don't know what frames I was getting because I didn't have it on, but the frames were good. And I was recording all at the same time. And I had no issues. No heat issues, no nothing. That's not to say that there's not issues, you know. I don't want to say that those people are lying, because that sucks that their graphics cards are dead for whatever reason. It's just a very weird situation, and it doesn't feel good considering we just had the whole New World debacle, what, a year ago, year and a half ago, whatever it was. So yeah, I guess, you know, we'll kind of see what happens. Hopefully next weekend there's not more reports of dead graphics cards, and kind of go from there. And hopefully next weekend is a better beta weekend, and we'll see how the Necro and Druid play out, and I will also have a review for that. But yeah, that's about all I have for you today. I appreciate you stopping by. I would appreciate if you would like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.